Unleashed, 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 unleashed.
It's currently 9:43 and we are 7 minutes off schedule. Come on.
Oh, hey! So, I just wanted to say that Hong Kong is one of the biggest cities in the world and one of the best known.
Transportation is one of the main aspects of our lives, as we go place to place every day.
Today we're going to take you around Hong Kong and show you the different types of transportation, from the old rickshaw to the MTR.
Before steam ferries were invented, Santas were used to cross the harbour between Hong Kong Island and the Kowloon Peninsula. But in the 1870s, a British man named Grant Smith bought a boat from his hometown and started running it across the Victoria Harbour at irregular intervals. Then in 1888, a Parsi merchant bought the boat from Smith and found the Kowloon Ferry Company. By the end of the decade, 4 vessels carrying 100 passengers each were crossing the harbour approximately 150 times a day. By the end of the century, the company's name was changed to Star Ferry and was sold to the Wong holdings. In 1966, a fare increase of 5 cents of the ferry was a political milestone, as it caused a 27-year-old to go on a hunger strike. His arrest sparked the 1966 Hong Kong riots.
The riots were a series of disturbances that took place over 3 nights on the streets of Kowloon in the spring of 1966. The riots started as peaceful demonstrations against the British colonial government's decision, but later turned into an arrest of 1,800 people, dozens of injuries, and 1 casualty.
Until the opening of the Cross Harbour Tunnel in 1972, the Star Ferry remained the main way of public transportation between Hong Kong Island and the Kowloon Peninsula.
AMB was created in 1933 as a means of transport around Kowloon and New Territory.
Bus systems in Hong Kong are one of the most useful, accessible, or cheapest way of transport around Hong Kong. One of the very first bus companies in Hong Kong, the China Motor Bus Company, CMB, started in 1924, began services mainly directly on Hong Kong Island. With the opening of the Island Line on the MTR, ridership on CMB heavily declined and the franchise lapsed in 1998 with the introduction of the New World Bus Company.
In 1979, Citybus began services. Citybus was the first to supply Hong Kong with a better way of transport around the island. The company started around the same time when the taxi was introduced in Hong Kong. The routes finally expanded around Hong Kong, and the company was awarded by the government for its franchise against KMB. KMB was another bus service company but based in Kowloon, which started operations way back in 1933.
Taxis are one of the most plentiful forms of transport. They can be found pretty much anywhere. Before taxis, people used to get around on sedan chairs and rickshaws. Rickshaws were more speedy than sedan chairs, but they were not suited to highly terrain. Rickshaws were first imported to Hong Kong by Japan in 1880. Rickshaws were powered by manpower and they had 2 wheels. In 1979, they introduced electronic taxis.
In Hong Kong, there are 3 different types. The Red Urban Taxi, which serves around Kowloon, Hong Kong, and a bit of New Territory. The Blue Taxi, which serves around Lantau, Disneyland, and the airport. The Green Taxi, which is only permitted in New Territories, airport, and Disneyland. All of them go to airport and Disneyland.
Complete tram is a special tram service which carries people from Central all the way to the Peak. The Peak tram is a major tourist attraction as it provides the most direct route and allows tourists to have a spectacular view of the Hong Kong skyline. The Peak tram route has 6 stations: Garden Road, Kennedy Road, which is right here, McDonald Road, May Road, Park Road, and the Peak. The Hong Kong tram system over here is one of the oldest modes of transport in Hong Kong. The tram is now considered as a major tourist attraction and that has been around since 1904. Riding on the lower deck enables passengers to have a close-up view of the local street life of Hong Kong, attracting many tourists. The tram is one of the cheapest means of transport in Hong Kong, and it goes from Town over here all the way to Shouting One on the other side of Hong Kong.
The peak tram was first introduced in May 1888 by then Governor Sir George William Devoe. At the time, the peak tram was split into 3 sections: first class, second class, and third class. The peak tram has been a victim of 2 natural disasters caused by heavy rainfall throughout its history, one in 1899 and one in 1966. The peak tram has since been replaced with an electric motor instead of the original steam engine. When the trams were first introduced, all carriages were single-deckered. The trams were split up into 2 sections, first class and third class. The fares for the first class and third class sections were 5 and 10 cents. But when the Japanese took over Hong Kong in World War II, very little tram service was allowed, and single-deck trams were abolished. Since then, the tram services have been modernized with double-decker trams.
Kowloon Canton Railway was created in 1910 as a service to provide a direct form of transport between Kowloon and Canton. Following an analysis of routes, a route through the Kowloon Hills via Sha Tin, Tai Po, and Chung Shoi was proposed and put to work. It was formally opened in October of 1910. This is now known as the East Rail Line, providing direct service to Lo Wu and Lok Ma Chau, where passengers can interchange onto Shenzhen metro trains. In 2007, the KCR was taken over by the MTR, but still gets a fixed sum of $750 million annually. The MTR is one of the most used means of transport and one of the quickest as well. Almost 90% of all travelling within the city is done on the MTR. It is also one of the safest, with automatic barriers that protect the passengers from falling onto the track. The MTR was created as a means to provide additional transport infrastructure for the rapidly growing population of Hong Kong. It eventually came into service in 1979, with routing between Shek Kip Mei and Kwun Tong. This was extended from Shek Kip Mei to Tsim Sha Tsui, and eventually across the harbour from Tsim Sha Tsui to Central. The Sheung Wan line was eventually completed in 1982. In 1985, the Island Line opened with services between Sheung Wan and Chai Wan. The Singapore MRT is also very similar to the Hong Kong MTR. They both operate a very rapid form of transport within the city. The Singapore MRT also uses something similar to the Octopus card called the EasyLink card. Both Hong Kong and Singapore are almost the same size, and have the same amount of rail, and they were both created within 10 years of each other, but the MTR easily beats the MRT in very many stats. For example, the MTR has 2 more carriages for extra human traffic during peak hours, has a quicker frequency of almost 1.5 minutes, all interchanges are cross-platform, has a lower breakdown rate, and all stations are disabled friendly. However, the MRT is better for comfortability and price, so it's pretty clear who the winner is. Obviously the MTR.
I was a child. I remember that there were single-decker trams. They're called trailers that were attached to the main double-decker trams. And they are very small and that could only seat, say, 20 to 30 passengers. And there were only about 12 to 15 of those trailers in Hong Kong. So in the past, we used to wait at the tram stop and to wait for the trailer train to come and get on it. And there were also rickshaws and sedans that cannot be found, in Hong Kong these days. My favorite type of transport when I was a child was taking the Star Ferry, because seldom did we have the chance to cross the sea and go to Kowloon. And it was quite an experience riding on a ferry, and it was a big event if we are taking the Star Ferry to go to Kowloon. Like the present-day Hong Kong, taxis to me was the most expensive type of transport. We often rode on public transport, and taxis, was very expensive because it was private, and it took you to the destination without, stopping at different stops, during your journey. And I think it was only a very, very rare occasion did we have a chance to ride on a taxi. Well, I think that when I was a child, trams was again the most popular type of transport because it was the cheapest, and time was not a major concern for us. I think the fare, was the most important factor. I remember that when I was a child, it only cost me 10 cents to travel from Central to the Western District. The major difference between the transport in the past and the present was that there was no reliance on computer and mechanics on the transportation. Say in the past, we used to have a bus conductor to collect our fare and also to give us a real ticket, a paper ticket, and that the tickets will be checked, by the conductor. And also on the trams and on the Star Ferry, there were also conductors to collect, the fares. And these days, we are using Octopus, and it is also mainly the drivers, who are also checking whether you have paid for the fare or not. I think the major reason leading to such a difference was of the rising cost of human labor, because now, with computer and the development of machinery, it is definitely cheaper and more efficient to collect fare, to distribute tickets using computer.
And that's all, folks.